So I was asked what I believe is the $1 million, possibly $1 billion question. If I had all the time and all the money in the world, what would my life look like? So you all have the opportunity to build limitless wealth and limitless time. Everyone has that advantage, that ability, that potential within them. You are here on this earth for a reason. God has put desires in your heart for a reason. And so you've got to sit there and ask yourself this question, and don't overthink it, guys. Thinking is the death of you in business. Thinking is the death of you in life. We overthink everything, we overanalyze, and we don't take action. So simply ask yourself, if you had all the money and the time in the world, what would your life look like? How would you spend your days? Who would you hang out with? Would you do the work that you're doing in the world? Would you volunteer more? Would you give back to your community? Would you be at your kids' school? Would you mountain bike? Would you go surfing? Would you pick up photography? You know, what is it? If you truly had an unlimited bank account and unlimited time, what would your life look like? And that was what I started to write down 4 years ago. I didn't overthink it. It wasn't some poetic masterpiece. I just started to write a bullet list of the home that I would live in with my family, the relationships that I would have, and I'm gonna do a little bit deeper dive into this in a little bit, but I just kind of took these categories, which we'll do in a moment, and thought about them. I thought about, well, how would I spend my days? Would we even live here in the city of Charleston? I don't know. If my husband wasn't the breadwinner and we had unlimited funds, would we live here? I'd never actually asked myself that question. And I started to dream really big dreams. I started to really think about how I wanted to impact the world and how I wanted to give back to it. And I just scratched it all down on a sheet of paper. And in that moment, I didn't really think about it too much. I just thought, this is fun. And I slipped it in a book that I was reading. And I was in the habit at that point of waking up and trying to read for 10 or 15 minutes before I started my day. Something that would fill my mind with something good before I let the world in. And so the next morning I woke up and I flipped open that book and that vision fell out. And I just kind of picked it up and looked at it and scanned it. And I got really excited. And I showed up that day and I worked a little bit harder. The next morning, I woke up, picked up my book that I was gonna read, the vision was there, and I read it again. And that started to happen just out of habit, day after day after day. And I kind of was in this realm, in this community of people that were figuring out their why. We've probably all heard that, right? Maybe they're talking a little bit about like vision boards or something like that. But when I look back on why little old me had such a massive quick success compared to all of these other people that were around me, I can tell you what it was. I didn't write that vision down and stick it in a book and put it on the shelf. I didn't make the vision board and stick it in the closet. I didn't do a course and then not, do anything else with it. What I did was I wrote that vision, and the most important part of this, the most important piece, was that I read it every single day. And so when I had to show up for work and it was time to hustle, guess what I did? I hustled. I hustled because it wasn't a pie in the sky dream anymore. I knew what it was riding on. I knew the relationship that I was gonna have with my husband was dependent upon me putting in the work. The life that I wanted to give my children was dependent on me showing up. The way that I was gonna give back to my community was dependent on me showing up. The lives that I was gonna go on to change was dependent on me showing up. And so every single day, I read that vision and I showed up. And I did this work. I did the work when I didn't want to do it, when I didn't have the time, when it wasn't convenient, when it didn't feel good. I showed up anyway.